when I study my own perspective, when I see how I view the world, over time, I begin to see patterns within my own subconscious, within my own way of thinking. And once I recognize that, I'm able to make certain slight adjustments that change the whole course of my trajectory.
I know that you had this tremendous experience in Peru, and then that was life-changing for you. But can you talk about how maybe that voice wasn't always as clear? Because before that point, how were you living? Like, moving, it wasn't slow enough to hear these voices, I would suppose. And just from previous conversations, can you share like kind of what it was like before, and then we can jump to where we are now?
Yeah. Prior to that experience, I was always living through the voice or the eyes of other people without realizing it. And I was always chasing your acceptance, her acceptance, his acceptance. I didn't realize that voice existed in me primarily. And that was the hardest thing to step through for me, to realize that, wow, Steve's opinion mattered more than my own. And once I got Steve's approval, that became my permission slip for me to accept myself and move forward. But I needed Steve's approval before I could give myself permission. But the thing I didn't realize was, first of all, that I was actually seeking your approval. I was blinded to that. And once I realized that, I was able to see that your approval was the permission for me to approve myself. So it was always me giving myself that permission, me giving myself that inspiration, me giving myself that acceptance and self-love. And once I was able to take out the external need, I was able to source it from within. And you have so much more energy when you can do that. That's what I've come to learn, because when I'm chasing your acceptance, I'm investing energy outward. I'm actually like you can actually measure the amount of energy that you're investing into your focal points. And when you don't even realize what you're doing, you drain a lot of energy, and then you don't really have time and space to do things for yourself because you're depleted by the end of it.
That's amazing. One metaphor that came to me. It's like you have the key to your house, and then you give the key to me and say, "Hey, give this to me when you think I'm ready." And then you have to like do whatever to hope that I'll give you the key back. And then you already had the key in the first place.
Yeah. And you're so busy with your life. And like, how do I, hey, Steve, can I have the key? When I'm ready, Lee, when I'm ready, I'll give you the key. You can have the key. But the key, it's always in my hand.
It was your key in the first place.
Yeah. Actually, that's what I've been saying a lot, is perspective is key. Perspective is key. And why I say that is because we're always stepping through doors into new worlds. And perspective comes from an old Latin word, and it means the science of optics. It's the science of how we see the world. Now, if we break down science, any scientist can agree that all science really is a study of observation over a period of time. You observe something enough times and you recognize patterns within that observation, and you come to some type of analysis or hypothesis or whatever it is, whatever word they use for that. And with that, when I study my own perspective, when I see how I view the world, over time, I begin to see patterns within my own subconscious, within my own way of thinking. And once I recognize that, I'm able to make certain slight adjustments that change the whole course of my trajectory.
It's amazing. And that's where one person that you and I both have been able to spend time with is Carl Buchheit, and he says that all life is feedback. And then if you couple that with all the choice that we've been talking about this whole podcast, then that's what gives you tremendous amount of thought towards where you want to go, because you can choose something, then get the feedback from that, then choose again, right? So
yep.
you're choose, and that's where slowing down comes in, because sometimes you're running so fast you pass by the feedback. It's always there. Like, we're getting this information all the time to better ourselves, like you said, use the word to be impeccable, like to do that all that comes from this science, right? This observation. And so we're taking these things into practice in our own life. And if you think about a scientist, depending on what science they're participating in, but almost all of them, it's partly slowing down. It's like inspecting something, looking at the deepest level, breaking it down to the smallest step so that you can pick it apart and do it. So even right now we're doing a bit of science, right? Because I'm asking you questions and we're picking apart different parts of our life so that coming back to what you said at the very beginning of this podcast is we're sharing our own stories so that other people don't have to repeat those. So anyway, this all comes into the smallest thing. You don't have to be doing this mega science experiment in a lab to have results in your life. You can do it right now.
Yeah, the science experiment in the lab is a result of each result in the, you know what I mean? It's a result of being in life. It's not that we always get attached to this big idea and this big vision. I mean, it happens to me all the time. And then typically when it doesn't come, I slow down and then I see, oh, I got to take each step along the way. I can't just jump into this big lab right now. I'm not there yet. And that's a beautiful thing because I got to be ready for that too.
Right.
It's cool. Actually, speaking on what you're saying, I was hanging out with a nuclear physicist, I don't know, like a month ago. And I asked him, I said, he's like 70 years old, a phenomenal guy. And I said, what is the most mind-blowing thing in physics that you have learned that still blows your mind to this day? And he goes, how much time do you got?
Right.
I'll break it down real quick. He basically showed me the math equation, the scientific math equation that proves it as fact, that there are in fact an infinite number of realities present right now. And he said, some people get there through deep meditation. Some people get there through psychedelic experiences. Myself, I got there through physics. And he goes, once I had that realization that there are in fact infinite amounts of realities out there, I went shopping for the reality that I want.
That's powerful.
Right?
Because you can get lost in all of that. So in that moment, you can just this is where we are. This goes back to the present, that it's a gift, this moment, because we can wander way out and be in wonderment or wonder what could be, should be, where could I be, instead of just be.
Hey there, I want to give you something really big. It's called Clear Path to Customers. It's the way that we get the right language to get the right client. I like to call them your wow clients so that you can have more results, more revenue, more raving fans, and more referrals. And I want to give this to you absolutely free. And all you have to do is go to stevenapolitan.com to check it out, or you can look at the description here. We'll put the details there. As always, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom.